Good evening, and welcome to Todd Klindt SharePoint Netcast number 210, recorded live Monday, August 11th, 2014. I am not Todd Klindt. I am Shane Young, and I am here to provide you with oodles and oodles of outstanding enjoyment as we talk our way through this lovely netcast. Why isn't Todd here? That's a great question. Well, see, Lori's 9-year-old and 10-year-old, they both got guitars, and they were just telling Todd how rad and cool it was. So Todd said, yeah, I'm going to show you kids. And Todd signed up for a guitar camp. So him and 200 other screaming 7th graders are out in California this week learning how to play guitar. You know, remember the little recorder, B-A-G-A-B-B-B? Remember we did Mary Had a Little Lamb? So imagine now Todd with big fancy guitar, B-A-G. It has got to be the most fabulous thing ever. So, it should be fun. But yeah, that's where Todd is this week. I promise he'll be back next week. As you can see, we are here in my fabulous house again. And this time we're not in the basement, so the internet works. And the webcams work. The microphone works. I don't know. I don't want to jinx it yet, but it should be a good time. First up here, I want to do our shameless plug, and I want to say, hey, thank you, Rackspace. They provide all the bandwidth for all of this. They provide the computers that we are using here, I guess it's me and the dog that's over there in the corner snoring, but they provide the computers that Todd and I use to put all this up, and then, of course, all the bandwidth for you guys to download it. So, great of them to do that. They also provide Todd and I with paychecks so that we, aren't flipping burgers at McDonald's or something. We kind of got those guys snowed. I think also it's worth noting, with Rackspace. So, as you'll see as we work through the show tonight, really it's going to sound more like Shane the newscaster. I'm kind of going to hit a little of this, a little of that, a bunch of random topics. But that's because, hidden in the halls of Rackspace, I got tired of, actually doing my day job. So I've been working on some secret projects using the Cloud OS, aka Hyper-V and System Center. And so, I've got a lot of hands-on with that stuff lately. I don't have any good SharePoint war stories for tonight. So, since I didn't have any good SharePoint war stories, I thought I'd run through some of the other random topics that Todd and I like to talk about and see what happens. So, I can see my chat room is finally filling up. They're all late. I was on for like an hour trying to warm the room up, and there was 2 people there. Then there was 3. Now there's 20 when I look back down. So, this should be a fun night. Couple production notes. One of them, or really the only one here, is, in Todd's own words, video went to hell on me. Frowny face. I hope I did the frowny face correctly. He had a lot of problems last week with the recording of the video. Knock on wood. He got all the recording problems out of the way, and I won't have any recording problems. But he did eventually give up. He had to switch to the backup recording. I'm not doing a backup recording, so there will be no switching to that. And he was able to, though, get it all online. So it is out there. Everyone should be able to download it, see it their normal ways. But know that Todd spent way too many hours that he could have been learning how to put a little twang into that guitar. He spent working on the netcast, getting the video in place. So that's his production notes. All right, so that brings us into topics for tonight. And the first topic I was going to talk about, which I wasn't going to talk about, but I was bragging to Lori earlier about my fancy Surface Pro 3. Pretty much got one the day they came out because I'm a nerd like that. I've had a Surface Pro 1. There's a Surface Pro 2 right there. There's another Surface Pro 2 right over there. And then here's my Surface Pro 3. So, with the Surface Pro 3, I'm liking it. It is much thinner, but it is a lot wider, so the different form factor has taken a little bit to get used to. The keyboard is nicer, though. This time it kind of does this like double flip thing, so you get a little angle out of it. Performance-wise, I got the same performance specs as I had with my 2. I'm not going to lie to you. They feel like they perform about the same. I can't really point to you where this one does anything better than the other one from a pure, doing my job on a daily basis. I have like the 256 gig hard drive with the 8 gigs of RAM. I didn't need that big of a hard drive, but I wanted the 8 gigs of RAM, and that was the smallest one. And it's an i5 processor. The i7s didn't come out right away, apparently there was an issue with some heating and some different issues there that stopped the i7s from coming out. And it's been interesting. So one of the software programs I use a lot at work, it's called ClearSea. It connects into our video conference systems at work. With that, it runs, from time to time, it kind of runs a little poorly on the surface. And what I found is it acts CPU starved because it's not able, it's a 32-bit app still, and it can't talk the Surface into giving it more CPU. So the Surface ends up running like 30% CPU, but like at a half or quarter state of the CPU. So it's like, oh, no problem. I'll hop in there and, go in. You can change the battery profiles right on Windows since like the beginning of time. You can change the battery profile to say when plugged in, run at a much higher processor state to avoid those, jumping up and down of processors. It's bad for the environment. It's going to kill all the whales and burn all the trees, but it's good for me because it makes my CPU run better. Well, guess what? Microsoft figured out that that was what I was going to do. And when they did that, they took away the power options. So if I go into the power options on the Surface 3, Surface Pro 3, I can't change most of the power options. One of them being I can't change the min and max processor states. They know about this. Apparently it goes all back to the thermal issues they were having that stopped the i7. But I think they're shipping i7s now, so I'm hoping that an update's going to roll out that's going to give me back control of my power settings for my machine because it's driven by an i5. So other than that, I've played with the pen a lot more on this one because it is a bigger area. I feel a little more comfortable writing with a pen and doing the OneNote thing. Pretty cool stuff. I drew a pretty picture of a Christmas tree the other day instead of listening at a meeting, which is not a shocker for me. The other thing that I will tell you guys, though, is probably, I would say close to a year now, I've been either using the Surface Pro 2 or the Surface Pro 3 as my only machine at work. And so to do that, I've actually got a pluggable, that's the name of the brand, Plugable, USB 3 docking station for it. So it's just a USB 3 connector to the machine. And with that, I'm actually running 4 monitors. So I'm running the Surface's monitor. I'm running 2 external monitors off the pluggable. One is, I think one of them is DVI-D and the other one is DisplayPort. And then the Surface also has the external connector, right? We get the little fancy dongle we can put on there. And so that's my 4th monitor. And then I've got a keyboard and a mouse plugged in. It is a great little setup. I can't say enough nice things about how happy I am that I got rid of this beast of a 17-inch laptop that I'm recording the show on and just switched the Surface Pro 3 100% as my only computer. The only thing that I can't do with the pluggable, the only thing I can't do with the Surface Pro 3 that I could do with this beast is run actual VMs, right? So the 17-inch beast that you're being recorded on had 32 gigs of RAM, 2 SSD hard drives, blah, 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 blah. It's a freaking mini computer over here. So over on the Surface, I do have to count on the old cloud to do all my VMs. But that's been kind of fun too. It's forced me to learn more about the different cloud pieces out there. And, I've built Windows machines on AWS, on Azure. I got into the early preview of the Google Compute for Windows. I got to play with that. That was interesting. Of course, Rackspace is always my bread and butter. So that helped kind of speed the knowledge on the fact that I had to force myself to do more cloudy things. I have to force myself to use OneNote more because I don't have all the hard drive space over here. I have to force myself to use OneDrive or Box or Dropbox or Google Drive or whatever ridiculous program I'm using. So it's been good. Anyway, Surface Pro 3, not a bad guy. Second random Shane hardware update. Remember we did this show on 42 megapixels, 41 megapixels, whatever that is on my Nokia 1020. Fitbit. I'm a big Fitbit guy, right? My Fitbit Force. Yep, Fitbit Force right there. They finally released a software update that will allow it to sync with a Windows Phone. The problem is that the Windows Phone, in order for it to be able to do the low energy Bluetooth connections, has to have the Nokia Cyan update, which is in the manufacturer's hands, but they haven't pushed out. So I can't actually get all of that syncing working yet because I'm waiting on the manufacturers to put it out. But we'll see what happens. So anyway, that was another one of those hardware nuggets for you that Todd talked about, the app coming out a couple weeks ago. I tell you that I'm dying to get it all working. I got all the right pieces. Now I just need a software update. So, all right. Next one. So random topics, since we're doing more of a news broadcast tonight instead of actual, SharePoint-y stuff. There is some SharePoint content, though, I promise. One of the things that just came out today is Microsoft is the leader in the Gartner's Magic Quadrant for unified communications. So Gartner just released a new update. Microsoft was very fast to pay them millions of dollars to get it so that the world could see it. And on that update, Lync, being your unified communication platform for Microsoft, has moved to the top right, which is really a big deal. I know that because, here at Rackspace, yep, shameless plug coming, we've been on the top right for managed hosting forever, and then the first launch of Managed Cloud, we were also on the top right. So, very excited for Microsoft because I know how cool it is to be up there. But, if you guys haven't done much with Lync, one of my projects earlier this year was I helped Rackspace launch some new Lync offerings. It's a pretty cool program. We've switched to using it at work quite a bit, and I tell you, it's a pretty cool program, so I'm a fan. All right, well, here's your little SharePoint content. I know not a lot of you are out there running your public websites on SharePoint, but if you are, or if you're running any type of public website, I think it's worth knowing. Google just recently announced that they are now weighting websites that are encrypted just slightly higher than they are websites that are not encrypted. So if you've ever played the SEO game, and goodness gracious, one of my previous roles, well, I guess kind of still my current role, I was in charge of our marketing stuff. That's all we ever really talked about was SEO. How do I manipulate Google so that if you search for SharePoint training, we come up number 1 or number 5 or number 3? Anyway, with Google's announcement, all public websites that want to be ranked up there, which we all do, you have to be encrypted. Old HTTPS, good old SSL. So that's a good note to worry about if you are into that stuff, or if you're not, someone in your office that is running that. It's something worth mentioning. Make sure they haven't missed the note on that one. And, SharePoint always has its SEO issues anyway because the code that SharePoint generates for master pages by default is kind of ugly. So I would definitely tell you to make sure you look at that if you're doing it for SharePoint. I also kind of ponder, will this start to be the death of just HTTP? I mean, if Google's forcing people that way, and that's what Google kind of said was, hey, we're doing this more to, not because it's a requirement, not because it makes anything for us better, but because it helps the internet as a whole be more secure. Could this be kind of the first step into HTTP finally going away? I mean, if you think about it, is there really any website that you go to today that you wouldn't want that extra level of security that, you wouldn't appreciate a little more, I don't want to say anonymity, because you can't really be anonymous on the internet. If you think you can, you're just crazy. But I don't know. I think it's clearly not something that's going to happen overnight, but it might be something to watch out for. So, all right. Let's see. Next update. Tomorrow, good old Patch Tuesday. Microsoft dropped us some hints about one of the patches that'll be coming out tomorrow, and the patch will be what they're calling their last major milestone patch. There's a whole list of things they're going to do. In this set of patches, there's it's another bundle, if you will. One of the things that's going to be updated is they're going to change all the login prompts that you get with SharePoint Online. So if you guys are using SharePoint Online as part of Office 365 and you're tired of Windows 8.1 making you log in 8 million times, one of the things that's going to be fixed. A bunch of others. But that's not really the story here. The more interesting part of the story here, that was just me tying it back to SharePoint, so you can't say I didn't know any SharePoint content. I know how you guys are. What that's going to do is Microsoft's going to be more committed instead of these monumental, 8.1 type of patches or mega update number 76. They're going to start kind of rolling the patches out just as fast as they can develop them. They say right now some of those patches that aren't security patches, they might sit on those for 3 or 4 months before it falls into the right cycle to be released. So they're going to try and get away with that and just start onesie twosie, and it should just be a steady stream of patches. That's a good thing, I think, for end users, for people who patch their own systems, who like to always be as updated as possible. If I put back on my old system administrator hat and I was running 600 Windows 8.1 machines, and I got to constantly roll those out and constantly vet those, that made me a little more skeptical. So I don't know. I don't know if they'll have to retract on that, if they'll get too much pushback. They've done things like this before and gotten a lot of pushback, but should be interesting to see how this changes, if at all, Patching Tuesday going forward. So that's our patching stuff. Speaking of patches, another recent update from our friends at Microsoft is you've only got like a year and a half left of 85 versions of IE to support, right? Today we got to worry about IE 8, IE 9, IE 10, IE 11. Hell, there's probably an IE 13. I just haven't seen it yet. But with all those different versions of IE out there, Microsoft's always struggled to keep them all patched, to keep them all supported. But they've had to, right? When we know that the main reason most of those versions still exist, the same reason XP exists. Someone's got some code somewhere that doesn't run on it. Now, Microsoft has finally drawn a line in the sand. Now, whether or not the sand gets, wiped off and fixed again later is a different story. But as of right now, they're saying that on January 12th, 2016, there will be no more umpteen versions of IE. They will stop supporting all of them, and they will only support whatever the current version is at that point. So I think that's a pretty major change. I don't know. I don't think they'll hold on to it for too long, but we'll see what happens with that. And that is also coming on the heels of some news where they just released some more updates to IE. I think they rolled in last week. Either rolled in last week or this week. But they're no longer supporting, they're going to start blocking out-of-date ActiveX controls by default. So today, there's still a lot of ways to exploit those old ActiveX controls. There's this, that you can do. Not anymore. All the IE versions are going to just start, bam, stopping those right at the front door and saying no more of those. So that'll be new behavior you guys will start seeing as people patch their IEs. It'll probably break SharePoint. It seems like every time they change IE in any capacity, they forget to test it with SharePoint. I don't know how they do that every time, but it seems to be the story of what they do. So now I see that I am boring the chat room with all these IE updates. They're now talking about Shark Week, so hopefully you all have been watching Shark Week as well. I don't know. I turned it on last night. Last night was the opening night, and so last year, opening night, they did this whole thing on Megalodon. And leading up to it, they're like, oh, we think they found a Megalodon, right, which is the old shark from dinosaur days. Well, when you get through the whole episode, or about 5 minutes into it, you realize that it's one of those fake documentaries, right? It's about as real as reality TV gets. And so with that, there's a lot of backlash on the internet. Like, what the heck? Why are we doing this fake Megalodon thing? Well, guess what they did to me last night when I was watching the opening show for Shark Week? It's about some shark named Submarine and how he's, this 30-foot super smart, can sit still. I think he can roll over, he does tricks. Great white shark that's out there hunting people and blah, 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 blah. They have amateur video footage of it. Yeah, my Photoshop skills were better than their Photoshop skills. It is awful. So, anyway, I watched some other ones with the kids tonight. They were good things, but those bookend ones, as someone on Twitter said, I don't really know what's more real, Sharknado or these Discovery shows anymore. So that's kind of sad. Yep, there you go. And if he was really awesome, he would have a laser beam attached to his head. Kind of like what was his name? Dr. Evil, right? What's $1 million? Yeah, no, I don't do very good impressions. So, also in the chat room, they're having a great conversation about. There's a picture of a monster crocodile eating a bull shark out in some river. I forget where it was, but pretty cool stuff. So, now the room's doing laser beams and whoa. See, I can't do it, so I'm gonna stop. All right, sorry. back to the news. That's what you're really here for. Wait, no, you're here for awesome SharePoint content. Got some famous SharePoint people in the chat room, so if you're really here for awesome SharePoint content, you should have joined the chat room. You have just some superstars there. I'm not going to tell you who they are, because then you'll be jealous of the people that I'm hanging out with in the chat room. All right, let's see. Back up here, looking for more things I'm supposed to talk about. All right, two more things. Another one SharePoint related. So out on TechNet, they've released a document, Plan for Internet Bandwidth Usage for Office 365. Wow. I don't know what to say about that. I mean, it's a great document. It's a great TechNet article on how to, plan for the different bandwidth scenarios, how much bandwidth you're going to use. But what that really tells me is that someone switched to Office 365 out there and just blew away their bandwidth, for their environment. It probably ended up with a $1 million bill for bandwidth, and now they're all mad at Microsoft. So now Microsoft's had to put together this document on how to go through it. I don't know. It just kind of blows my mind that anyone wouldn't have known going into it that if you switch to, all your things being out in the cloud, which is clearly where we're all going, right? And I sell cloud just as much as the next guy, so I'm happy to see it. But the cloud requires you to be connected to the cloud, right? You got to get from here to there. It's not just across the place. It's not these, gigabit network connections we have from point A to point B, but it's trying to have a gigabit connection or whatever your connection is out to the old cloud. So don't be shocked by it, but it bothered me. It kind of reminds me of when you look at, I have a couple examples that aren't family show friendly. So when you look at a hairdryer, right, and it says don't use the hairdryer in the bathtub, right? Big giant warning label like this on the side of the hairdryer. It seems like the same thing to me. So anyway, there you go. News flash for the evening. Discovery Channel has some really bad content, fake shows, and using internet uses bandwidth, according to Laura Rogers. So thanks for that plug, or that lovely quote there, Laura. All right. And then that brings us to the final news flash for the night. And this one I was going to skip. I wasn't even going to do this particular news article, but apparently our dear friend Lori has had some personal first-hand experience with it. And that experience is, if you ever had, the old check engine light come on in the car, right? Yeah, check engine light, right? If you're a Big Bang Theory watcher, it's 10 o'clock in my world, I'm tired. If you ever watched the show, right, when Sheldon rides with Penny for the first time, he realizes the light's on. And she's like, yeah, I've been meaning to get some electrical tape to cover that up, and he kind of freaks out. Well, the good news is that if Penny would have purchased the new OBD Auto Doctor Windows Phone app and a OBD2 connector that uses Bluetooth, she could have plugged it in her car and using her Windows Phone, she has an iPhone, so probably not her Windows Phone, but using her Windows Phone in this fictitious story that I'm telling, she could have diagnosed her car and all of its evil problems from just her Windows Phone. So Lori will get the thing, I think, about right here, if I remember correctly, is where it shows up. There's the URL for the app. If you're still doing cars, or still having to troubleshoot cars, you have cars that like to throw those type of lights, and who doesn't, then I think that app is a really cool one to check out. Apparently, from reading the comments on the website, you can buy the adapter to plug into your car for anywhere from $8 to $20 in the app, I think. There's a free trial, and it's like $9.99 from there. And every car made like after 1998 or something like that, 1996, has OBD2, so I thought it was a pretty cool thing. So, I don't know, I might buy one just to go see if I can hack my car or not, right? I mean, the hackers are out there hacking our cars. Why shouldn't we figure out how to hack our own cars? End up with a password, right? Have to put in my 85-character password to get it all set up. Might be a problem. All right, so I think that is enough news for one night. So shameless promotion. Let's see, we'll do Shane talk about his own one first. And so, just wanted to plug out there that, I've been playing a lot with Hyper-V System Center and the Cloud OS, the Windows Azure Pack, and Rackspace, we're about to launch some of that stuff on a beta capacity. So if you have any interest in any of that, reach out to me. I'd be happy to fill you in on what we're doing with that. Fun stuff. New muscles to learn for me. So it's been kind of neat. Todd and I will be at SP TechCon Boston. Apparently he made his reservations. It's official. A part of it being official was I made my reservations. And after like an hour of Todd and I working together, I am now on TripIt. Apparently this was very monumental in Todd and I's friendship. It was so bad that I refused to sign up for it that he actually signed me up for my TripIt account. So whatever, I'm on TripIt. I used it to make plans, so we're going out there. We're teaching the half day on Upgrade. We're doing some PowerShell stuff, some admin stuff. I think I'm on some type of panel talking about, you guessed it, the cloud while we're out there. So should be a good time. If you've never been to the SP TechCon events, I'd really recommend them. And I like Boston better, mostly because I'm an East Coast person, so Boston's in my time zone, so it's like an hour flight. But it's a good show. So anyway, SP TechCon Boston, great thing. And let's see, what else do I have? Oh, you know what? I'm going to give Laura, since we used one of her quotes in the thing, Laura has her SharePoint Power Hour every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Central. It's a good time, right? Her and some of her teammates that do business solutions for SharePoint get on there and they have a chat kind of like this without the charming good looks of me. Instead, you get Laura and her team on there, and they just kind of talk about the different things they've had going on in their practice and things like that. So definitely check that out. And let's see, the last but not least is Todd will be at the SharePoint Exchange Forum in Stockholm, Sweden. I am American, so I'm not very good at geography, but I think it's that way, just a few thousand miles. So pretty exciting for Todd. He'll be out there September 29th through September 30th. He's got an upgrade session and then a Visual Studio load testing session. I can tell you from doing the Visual Studio load testing session with Todd, he really struggles through it. So make sure you show up there, ask questions, and try and throw him off kilter. It'll be a good time for everyone. Yeah, I think on that note, we're going to call it a show, folks. It was a good time. The room kind of filled up here. They mostly behaved, so I appreciate the live studio audience. I appreciate the dog who snored through the show. I appreciate the 2-year-old who actually stayed asleep through the show. So it was a good time. So, hey, thanks for having me, and all of you, have a great day, night, afternoon, whatever it might be. See ya.